The year is 2010 and an 18-year-old Jared Polec has just been drafted the same year he finished high school in South Australia. Polec was taken at number 5 by the Brisbane Lions ahead of other players like Dyson Heppel and Dion Prestia. Polec didn't have to wait long to play his first game for Brisbane. It was round 3 of the 2011 season, where he had 18 disposals, 2 tackles, and he also played round 5 and round 6. For the 2011 season, he only played 3 games as a rookie. In 2012, Polec played 12 games for Brisbane, and in 2013 he only played 1 due to injury. This saw Polec play for the reserves as he was recovering from an injury. At the end of the 2013 season, Polec requested a trade to either Adelaide teams, the Adelaide Crows or Port Adelaide Power.
Young Polec got a bit of dash about him, and he can kick a long ball and he can kick a straight ball.
Brisbane had a player exodus on its hands with all the turmoil up there, but they have managed to improve their draft position.
Yeah, look, fewer clubs have gone into a trade in worse position than Rob Kerr found himself in. He's got Jared Polec out of there, Longer, Doherty, Yeo and Carnesis. Terrible situation for the club. The club should be embarrassed that they actually have found themselves in this situation. Rob Kerr said that all he had to do to start the trade period was not get ripped off. Now that's a shocking position for a list manager to go in.
Give us a grade, Pete.
Well, I gave him a C-, but I feel it's a bit harsh on Rob Kerr. He's worked pretty bloody hard for that C.
Now, Damo, the situation of the Lions is really intriguing. This is just an indication of it. Irishman Piers Hanley has given us some perspective. Tweeting in answer to a fan's question today, he says, #Mummy's boys are home now.
Keep them. And Pete, I reckon the C- have given us pretty lenient. I would have been giving him an F if I had been in charge of that club, because you can't have that many players walk out and get nothing by way of fair comparison.
I'd give the club a 0, to be honest. I mean, they had to get a new coach. Lepish came in. They had board turmoil. Imagine being a young player, 18 to 20, talented, and you're looking at the club in disarray. It's a disgraceful position for them to be in, and they should actually have a really good look at their welfare systems, all their structures, and make sure it never happens again. They've lost their first 2 picks from 2010, 2011. Who knows down the track how much effect it's going to have?
And that's the point. There's no obvious reason as to why they got themselves into that situation in the first place. Anyway, we must move on.
At the time, it made sense for Polec to want to trade from Brisbane to Port. Polec said he would be happy to go to either the Crows or Port Adelaide, but he later stated that he grew up as a Port Adelaide fan and that's where he wanted to go. Polec would have been 21 at the time, and as you heard from the previous commentators, there was turmoil at the club, so it made sense for him to abandon ship while he could, while he was still young and while his career was still salvageable. So at the end of the 2013 season, he was picked up by Port Adelaide. As a younger player with only minor injuries at the time, it made sense for Port to pick him up, as he was a great winger who had a good ability for running and was elite with the left foot on the run, hitting a target at close range and long range. He wasn't a massive goal kicker, but he did kick quite a few goals, so I would assume this is why Port were very interested to pick him up. The first season that Polec played for Port Adelaide, he only missed 2 rounds due to minor injury, round 9 and round 13. He also helped Port get into the second preliminary final against Hawthorn, which they lost. Polec averaged almost 20 disposals a game and very close to a goal a game. For someone who was on the outskirts of a club on the down, he actually performed very well for his first year at Port Adelaide, and this would see his value increase to the club and also prospecting clubs. 2015 was the year that it all started to go a little bit downhill. He did still play quite a few good games, but at the end of the showdown clash in round 5 against Adelaide, Jared Polec actually had a fracture in his foot. The club doctors convinced Polec not to go under surgery and to let the bone heal on its own. This meant that in 2015, Polec played the first 5 games and then missed the rest of the season due to injury. But luckily for him, he would make his return in 2016, where he picked up where he left off. 2016 and 2017, Jared Polec played another good 2 years of footy. He averaged just under 20 disposals a game for the 2016 season and 22.3 disposals for the 2017 year, averaging about half a goal per game for each year. but his breakout year was the 2018 season. In 2018, he only missed one game and he averaged 25 disposals and half a goal a game again, but his disposal efficiency was a little bit higher and he was really looking like he was going to be an elite winger, and I guess this is what his motive might have been, trying to get that value up to look for the trade or either get more money out of Port Adelaide as he was out of contract at the end of the 2018 season. Polec must have been told that Port Adelaide were not going to match an offer or to give him a solid offer, so he decided to say that he was requesting a trade to a Victorian club. The rumours were that it was either North Melbourne or St Kilda that were interested in taking him for roughly $700,000 to $800,000 a year. That's a lot of money for a winger who averages 20 disposals a game and doesn't have a massive influence on the game, in my opinion.
Howling down an hour before play. Here's Spoke. Polec now. Tight spot. Left foot. Look at this. Got a couple.
Reliable sources at Fox Footy were told that St Kilda had not increased their offer of $800,000 per year to the winger across 5 seasons. North Melbourne offered apparently $750,000 over 5 seasons to Polec as well.
What? That gets done. Just talk us through it.
Yeah, definitely. It's definitely a relief. It's build up of excitement as well. Get to start somewhere new again and learn a whole new system, a whole new game plan, and get to learn more about myself at another club.
In hindsight, it makes sense. Polec just came off his best year at 2018 when he was out of contract. He was looking for a better deal at Port or a better deal somewhere else. Why wouldn't you take the job if someone's offering you $750,000 a year? You'd be stupid not to. In hindsight, good job by Polec, bad job by North Melbourne. Polec's first year at North Melbourne made a lot of sense. He averaged 23.1 disposals per game and almost a goal a game. A little bit of improvement from when he was at Port Adelaide. The very first year, it looked like North Melbourne were getting their money's worth out of their new recruit, Jared Polec. But unfortunately, things went downhill very quickly from 2019.
Yeah, so a little hotspot appeared just before Christmas. Took a real conservative approach with it. Probably a bit borderline too conservative at the time.
In your opinion?
Yeah, in my opinion, but we done what needed to be done, and looking back to getting into playing game next week.
So from that point of being ultra conservative, which I suppose is a good thing because you are very, very important to our side, so you're looking like playing round 1, is that in doubt?
In my mind, it's not in doubt at all.
And Polec was right, he did play round 1. He played round 1 all the way through to round 8 without any interruptions, and then he played round 10, 11, 16, 17, 18. So he actually played quite a few games in 2020, but then this wasn't the last that we would see of this foot injury for Jared Polec. Polec played in the 2021 season. He played the first 3 games before suffering an injury against the Western Bulldogs in round 3. He underwent surgery and he only played 2 more games for the rest of the season in round 19 and 20, where he averaged 7 disposals for the rest of the year in those 2 games. He was underperforming, and at the end of the year, North Melbourne actually delisted him and picked him back up as a rookie. In 2022, Jared Polec played 2 games for North Melbourne, one against the West Coast and one against his original side that he was drafted to, the Brisbane Lions. He had a pretty poor game against the Brisbane Lions. I don't know if this was some sort of way that they sent him off, but he didn't play another game for North Melbourne, and now he's been delisted from North Melbourne completely. So what can we take from all of this? Well, I really don't know. Jared Polec has been a good player. He hasn't been a great player. He hasn't been a bad player. He's been somewhere in between, a player who has been down on injuries. His foot sounds like it's really hindered his ability to continue to play the game, and unfortunately that's cost both North Melbourne and his career. I think at the time he made the right decision to go to North Melbourne. Apparently the contract that he had was $3.5 million over 5 years, so good for him. North Melbourne should have looked a little bit more into his injuries and possibly his abilities. Someone who's averaging 20 disposals a game probably shouldn't be paid $750,000 a year, in my opinion. But all the best to Jared. I hope he gets picked up, or I hope he can somehow fix his foot. He's now 30 years old, so this may be the end of his AFL career. Best of luck to him.